some more theorems on normality. So let us learn the theorem, the proof of the theorem. Every metric space is normal. Let us prove every metric space is normal. Let us prove every metric space is normal. So before that, what is normal? So we all know normality is nothing but a topological space is normal if and only if disjoint closed sets can be separated by disjoint open sets. Okay, that is, if we have any two disjoint closed sets in the topological space X tau, there exists two disjoint open sets, say G1 and G2, such that those two separate F1 and F2 and they are disjoint. Okay, that's the meaning of normal. Now let us learn the proof of every metric space is normal. Now to prove every metric space is normal, so we should take a metric space. So let us take a metric space. So let X tau be a metric space or XD. So let us take a metric space. Let XD be a metric space. So let us take a metric space. Done. So then, to prove that normal, we have to prove this metric space is normal. XD is normal. We have to prove the metric space is normal. So we'll take two disjoint closed sets. So let A and B, two disjoint closed sets. Two disjoint closed sets where in X. Let's take two disjoint closed sets in let us take two disjoint closed sets in X. We'll call it as A and B. Remember, we want two disjoint open sets separating A and B. Okay. So now, take any element in A. Let me choose some A belonging to A. Okay. Definitely, this A will not belong to B because A and B are disjoint. So definitely will not belong to B. And what is B? B is closed. B is closed. So where it will be now? It doesn't belong to B. So it will belong to the complement X minus B. And X minus B is open set. X minus B is open. X minus B is open. We have an element belonging to the open set and we are in the metric space. So there exists an open ball. This implies there exists an open ball centered at A. Some radius, we'll call the radius as epsilon A, right? There exists an open ball such that between A and this, that is, A will belong to epsilon A contained in X minus B. Contained in X minus B. So this is completely in B complement. So therefore, B A epsilon A, okay, intersection B. This is completely in the complement. So this is definitely null. That is definitely null. Let us block this, okay, and let us call it as star. Let us call it as star. Now similarly, this is happening for any element belonging to A. Now similarly, for any element B belonging to B, right, there exists an open ball centered at B some radius epsilon b such that b epsilon b intersection a is null. Let us call this as double star. Let us call that as double star. And how is b? B will definitely will belong to this b epsilon b. Fine. And that is contained in x minus a. That is contained in x minus a. Okay. So now, actually, we want two disjoint open sets separating a and b. Okay. Now, let us define. Let us take our u is equal to union a varying over capital A, b, all the open balls b centered at a, and the radius is epsilon a by 2, right? And let us take v equal to union. Similarly, can you guess? B belonging to b of centered at b, and the radius is epsilon by 2. Fine. Now, remember, all the centers are coming from A. Similarly, all the centers here are coming from B. Fine. So, definitely, I've got two sets here, U and V. And how are these two, U and V? Are they open sets? Number one, clearly, U and V are open sets. Why? Why they are open sets? Because they are nothing but the union of open balls. Open balls are nothing but open sets. So union of open sets is nothing but open. Similarly, V is also open. So U and V are two open sets. Now, what about A? Do they separate A and B? What about U? Does it contain A? See, all the centers are coming from A. All the centers are coming from A. Look at V. All the centers are coming from B. And the next point, that is second point, A is contained in U and B is contained in V. B is contained in V. I've got two open sets and they separate A and B. Now what we have to prove? We have to prove that the open sets, we have got U and V, no? We have to prove that these two are disjoint. To prove that those two are disjoint. So to show that U intersection V is equal to null. We have to prove that U intersection V is null. This is our third point. Third point, we have to prove this is null. Okay. Now, suppose it is not null. Say some Z will belong to U intersection V. This will imply what? This will imply Z will belong to U and Z will belong to V. What is our U? So Z will belong to U. U is nothing but union A running over capital A, B, A, epsilon A by 2. And we have Z belonging to V. Our V is nothing but union B belonging to B, open ball B, B comma epsilon B by 2. So this will imply Z will belong to some open ball here. I'm calling it as centered at A, epsilon A by 2, some A. And Z will belong to some open ball there. That open ball I'm calling it as B, centered at B, epsilon B by 2 is the radius. So this will imply what? This will imply the distance ZA is less than, and the distance ZB, okay, less than epsilon B by 2. Right? Now, consider the distance DA comma B by triangular inequality of metric spaces. So this is less than the distance AZ plus the distance ZB. Following? This is lesser than or equal to. Okay? And the distance AZ is less than epsilon A by 2, that is here, plus the distance ZB, that is here, that is nothing but less than epsilon B by 2. Okay, so what is our LHS? LHS is this. So therefore, we have DA comma B is less than this. Let us call this as 1. Let us call this as 1. Remember, we have to prove U intersection V is null, and we have taken any element in U intersection V. We have to get a contradiction. Let us see where we get the contradiction. Okay, so now, if first case, suppose our epsilon B, epsilon A is less than or equal to epsilon B. Okay, then what will happen to this D of AB? D of AB will be, okay, less than, less than, less than. Now, so epsilon A is lesser than or equal to epsilon B. So that is less than. So in the place of, I rewrite it, A by 2 plus epsilon B by 2. We have epsilon A lesser than or equal to epsilon B. So this is lesser than or equal to, in the place of epsilon A, I'm putting epsilon B by 2 plus epsilon B by 2. That is nothing but 2 epsilon B by 2. That is nothing but epsilon B. Okay, so what have we got? What is our LHS? LHS is D of AB is less than epsilon B. Epsilon B. Okay, so now, so therefore A belongs to, therefore A belongs to, A will belong to open ball centered at B. Radius is epsilon B. Radius is epsilon B. Following, guys? And where is our A actually? Actually, our A is coming from, our A is coming from capital A. And by the previous step, we have got A belongs to B, B, epsilon B. So I am getting A is belonging to B, B, epsilon A, right, intersection A. That means I'm getting this is not null. B, B, epsilon, sorry, it is B, right, B, intersection A is not null. I'm getting a point belonging to this that is not null. Is it a contradiction? This is a contradiction. This is a contradiction to double star. Double star. That's a contradiction to double star, right? So therefore, I cannot have epsilon A lesser than or equal to epsilon B. Now let me take, another chance. That is if epsilon B is lesser than or equal to epsilon A. Epsilon B is less than or equal to epsilon A. So what now? So therefore, what is the distance? The distance AB, right, will be less than, I rewrite it, I'm writing the equation 1 as it is, plus epsilon B divided by 2, right? So this is lesser than or equal to, our epsilon B is, okay, epsilon A as it is. Epsilon B is lesser than or equal to, epsilon B is lesser than or equal to epsilon A divided by 2. That is nothing but epsilon A. So what have we got? We have got the distance AB is less than epsilon A. So what? So therefore, the element B will belong to open ball centered at A, and the radius is epsilon A. And actually, where is B? B is actually coming from, B is actually coming from B. So therefore, we have got B will belong to both. So B epsilon A intersection B. And this is a contradiction. Contradiction to star. Contradiction to star. Right. So in both the cases, we got the contradiction. So I cannot have any element belonging to U intersection V. Therefore, U intersection V has to be null. Right. Let us call this as the third point. This is the third point we are proving. Right. So by 1 and 1, 2 and 3. We got two open sets, right, which are disjoint and they contain A and B. So therefore, the topological space XD is normal. The metric space XD is normal. Hence, the theorem. Hence, we have proved every metric space is normal. Okay. Now we shall go to the next theorem. The next, okay. One note here. Every metric space is normal and every metric space is, we also know every metric space is T1. Every metric space is normal. So these two together, we can say that every metric space is dash. Can you guess? T1 and normal, therefore T4. Suppose the question is to prove that every metric space is T4. First, we have to prove every metric space is normal. Then we have to prove every metric space is T1. Then the conclusion is every metric space is T4. Okay. Now we shall go to the next theorem. The next theorem is a compact Hausdorff space is normal. Very interesting theorem to prove that a compact Hausdorff space is normal. Compact Hausdorff. Hausdorff means T2 space. A compact Hausdorff space is normal. So let us take a topological space. Let us take a topological space, which is, let this be Hausdorff compact. Let me write compact first. And Hausdorff, that is T2. T2. Fine. T2 also Hausdorff. We have to prove what? TPT, to prove that this topological space, which is both compact and T2, is normal. Is normal. What do you mean by normal? Two disjoint closed sets can be separated by two disjoint open sets. So let me take two disjoint closed sets. So let us take two disjoint closed sets. Let A and B be two disjoint closed sets. Let us take two disjoint closed sets. Remember, at the end, we want two disjoint open sets separating these two. Okay, yes. Let us take any element in A. Let us take one element in A and choose one Y belonging to B. Clearly, X not equal to Y, because I'm taking one element from A, another element from B, and both A and B are disjoint, so definitely they are not equal. Actually, they are coming from X, and X is T2. X is T2 or Hausdorff. X is T2. T2 means what? So this implies there exists two open sets. There exist two open sets. We'll call the open sets as Ux and Vy, such that X will belong to Ux, Y will belong to Vy, and they are disjoint, equal to null. Fine. We'll call this disjointness as star. We have got these two are disjoint. I've got two open sets separating X and Y because the space is T2. Now what shall we do is we'll vary Y. Now varying Y. Varying Y in B. X is fixed. Our X is fixed. We'll vary Y. So for X and Y1, we get two open sets. Okay, two open sets. We'll call Ux1 and Vy1. Two open sets and they are disjoint. Remember, Ux1, X1 intersection Vy1 equal to null. Right? Now X is fixed. I'll take another element, Y2. I'm getting two open sets, X2 and Vy2, such that they are disjoint. Okay. Similarly, Y3, X is fixed, and so on, etc. And remember, all they are mutually disjoint. Now, So for varying y in B, we'll take all these open sets. Let us take all these open sets. And remember, we have the corresponding open sets also for x. All these open sets contain the element x. Contain the element x. Okay, so now, so we are getting an open cover for B. Okay, so we are getting an open cover for B. So we are getting an open cover Vy, y coming from B is an open cover for B. What is B basically? B is closed subset of X and X is dash. Our X is compact. Remember our X was given as T2 and compact. T2 we used already. Now we are taking compact, right? Now, a closed subspace of a compact space is compact. This will imply B is compact. B is compact. I have an open cover for B. So what should happen now? That open cover will have a finite subcover for B. So B will be contained in union finite subcover. So I'm taking I equal to 1 to n V y I. And we'll call this as V of x. Remember our x is fixed. The element x is fixed. Fine. Yes. So what is our V of x? I rewrite it. That is, we have got B contained in V of x. Okay. And V of x is union of open sets. So therefore it is open set. I got an open set containing B. And remember our x is fixed. For one element x, all these things are happening. Fine. Now, we have taken open sets Vi's, Vy's. We are having the corresponding open sets. Consider the corresponding open sets. Corresponding open sets. Corresponding open sets of x, right? Ux1, Ux2, etc. Will not take everything, will take only up to n, right? Uxn. And all these are open sets of x, right? And x will belong to all of them, Uxi for all I, right? Now take only up to n and we'll call u of x is equal to intersection of all these things. Ux1 intersection Ux2 intersection etc. intersection Ux. We'll call this as u of x. And x will belong to all of them. No, so if x will belong to u of x. And what is our u of x? U of x is nothing but finite intersection of open sets. So is also open. So we got an open set, right? Which contains x, the element x. Fine. Remember, this is, we had the fixed one element x in A. Varied y in B. I got one v of x containing B. And I got a u of x containing the element x. This is for one element x. This is happening for every x belonging to A. Fine. And what about the intersection of these two? So let us write down u of x intersection v of x. There is joint. I'm checking that. So this is equal to, what is u of x? U of x is nothing but intersection I equal to 1 to n u x I intersection v of x is nothing but union. I'll not take again I, I'll take j there. So j equal to 1 to n only. It is v y I. That is nothing but, so union j equal to 1 to n intersection I equal to 1 to n bracket uxi intersection vyi. And definitely this is disjoint. So therefore intersection is disjoint, again union is disjoint, I mean the null set. So therefore this is equal to null. So therefore what have we got? U of x and v of x intersection is null. Fine. This is happening for one element belonging to A. Remember. Okay. This one now we'll call as some triple star. I mean double star. Double star. Fine. And single star is this. Single star is this. So because of this, all these are null sets. So therefore U of X intersection V of X is also null. We'll call that as double star. Fine. This is happening for one element X. Remember, yes, students. So for one element X, I've got V of X. V of X contains B, and I've got U of X. U of X contains that element, and U of X, V of X both are open and they are disjoint. Fine. Now we'll vary X. For one element X, all these things are happening. All these things up to here. So now I'm varying X. Now let us vary X. Varying X. So what do you expect now when we vary X? When we vary X, where our X belongs to? X will belong to A, right? X will belong to A. So varying X in A, we are getting an open cover. Remember the end open set we had got now. That open set I am taking. X belonging to A is an open cover. Is an open cover for the set A. And what is A? A is dash closed set. Okay, and closed subset of X, and X is compact. Same logic, right? So therefore, I'm getting A is compact. A is compact. I've got an open cover for A. That means what? That open cover will have a finite subcover. Finite subcover, I'm writing like this. I equal to 1 to M, I'm taking U of Xi. Finite subcover. No, so I'm taking I equal to 1 to M U of Xi. And we'll call this as U. So I rewrite A is contained in U. And what is our U? U is union of open sets. So U is open. So I got an open set. We'll call this as 1. I got an open set and it contains A. Okay. Now take the corresponding open sets V of Xi. Consider the corresponding open sets. Corresponding open sets V of X1, V of X2. I'll take only up to M, right? So V of Xm. Remember, all of these contain B. Okay, all of these contain B, and corresponding open sets of B. I'll write that B there. So all of these contain the set B. Take the intersection now. So let us call V as the intersection of all these. Intersection Vx2 intersection etc. Vxm. Okay, we'll call this as B. Since all of them contain B, the intersection, right? B is contained in V, and V is intersection of finite open sets is also open. We'll call this as 2. See, dear students, I've got 2 open sets. Look at 1 and 2. We've got U is open, V is open. So we have got 2 open sets, right? And A is contained in the first open set and B is contained in the second open set. The only thing is we have to prove that they are disjoint. We'll prove U intersection V is disjoint. Right? Yes. Now consider U intersection V. Consider U intersection V. So what is U? Will substitute. U is I equal to 1 to M U of Xi's intersection. V is nothing but intersection. I'll take J there. J equal to 1 to M only. V of Xj. Right. So that is equal to union I equal to 1 to M. Intersection J equal to 1 to M. Bracket U Xi intersection Vxj. And remember, we had proved double star. Double star, we had got U of X intersection V of X is null. So this is happening for Xi and Xj, the elements. For all of the elements, this is also equal to null. So by double star, this is null. This is null, and intersection again this by double star. So U intersection V is null. We'll call this as the third point. So by 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3. By 1, 2, 3, what have we got? We have got two disjoint open sets, right? One separating A and B, and they are disjoint. So therefore, the topological space X tau is normal. Is normal. So therefore, we have proved a compact Hausdorff space is normal, hence the theorem. Very, very easy one. Now we shall go to the next theorem. The next theorem is, we shall prove a normal space is regular if and only if it is completely regular. In our previous lecture, we had proved that normal doesn't imply regular, but a normal space can become regular if and only if it is completely regular. If and only if it is completely regular. Okay, this is a theorem. So we have to prove what? So a normal space is regular if and only if it is completely regular. Very, very easy proof. So proof. So let us, basically what is given? Basically, let us take a topological space which is normal. Normal. Okay, now I am taking necessary. There is if and only if. So I am taking necessary. Necessary, what is given? Given X tau is regular. Regular. TPT, to prove that X tau is completely regular. Completely regular. So what do you mean by completely regular? For any element not belonging to the closed set, I want a continuous map. Right? Remember that definition? Yes. So let us take one element not belonging to F. Okay. What is our F? F is a closed set. Closed set in X. Right? X doesn't belong to F. F is closed. No. So where will be X belonging to now? It will be belonging to its complement, and the complement is open set because F is closed. And X is regular. Regular. So what is the characteristic property of regularity? Whenever you have an element belonging to an open set and X is regular, so by the characteristic property of the regularity, there exists an open set. There exists an open set. We'll call the open set as, actually we had called G star. No, we'll take it as G here, right? Such that X will belong to G, that is contained in G bar, that is contained in the open set F dash. Right? Okay. So now G bar is completely in F dash, therefore G dash intersection F is null. Right? What are these two now? G bar, once you put bar, is closed. Right? So G bar is closed and F is also closed. These two are closed sets and they are disjoint. Closed sets, of course, in X, and they are disjoint. Right? And X is normal, basically given. Following, X is normal, and by using Urysohn's lemma, by Urysohn's lemma, whenever the space is a normal, right, whenever we have two disjoint closed sets, there exists, by lemma, there exists a continuous function. Continuous function, we'll call the function as f, small f, function f from X to the closed interval 0, 1, such that f of the first closed set, that is G bar, is going to the singleton 0, and f of the second closed set here is f, that will go to singleton. That is by Urysohn's lemma. Urysohn's lemma says that x tau is normal. So this is happening for any two disjoint closed sets, right? Yes. Okay. Now I have to prove it is completely normal. That is, I want a continuous function, right? I want a continuous function. We have got a continuous function here, such that the element which should go to 0 and the closed set should go to 1. Okay. Where is the element x? X will belonging to G. I have it here. X belongs to G, and G is contained in G bar, right? So therefore, X will belong to G bar. So therefore, what is our f of X? F of X is going to the element 0 because X is belonging to G bar. And f of the closed set is going to 1. We got a continuous function f from X to the closed interval 0, 1 such that the element is going to 0 and the closed set is going to 1. Therefore, the space x tau is completely regular. Completely regular. Hence, necessary is proved. Now we have to prove the sufficiency. So what is sufficiency now? To prove the sufficiency. So what is given for the sufficiency? Given for the sufficiency, x tau is completely regular. CR, that is completely regular. We have to prove that x tau is regular. And the proof is already done in the previous lecture. Very, very simple proof. We have proved every completely regular space is regular. Right? It is already done. So hence, the sufficiency is also over. Hence, sufficiency. For the proof, we can refer that lecture. Fine. So we have proved both necessary and sufficiency. Hence the theorem. Hence the theorem. What is the theorem? The theorem is a normal space is regular if and only if it is completely regular. Okay.